please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So will you please do roll call?
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Truck,
Yes.
Commissioner Quinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Kriskowitz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Quinn,
I'm still here, yes.
and Chair Kenny.
Present.
Thank you.
At this time, the Historic District Commission can take action to approve the December 4th agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have the same people moving and supporting it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this time, the chair will ask if there are any members with a conflict of interest on the approved agenda. Any conflicts? Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. At this time, the Historic District Commission can take action to approve the October 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Public comment on agenda-related items. All comments and handouts from the speaker at the podium will go through the chair. Also, there will not be any interaction between the podium and the audience. If these rules cannot be followed, the chair can adjourn the meeting, a limit of 5 minutes to address the Historical District Commission. Is there any public comment on agenda-related items?
Yes, there is.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
If you would like to wait and
I'd prefer to speak now if I could.
okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Thanks. So good to see you this afternoon. I am Jeff Gordon, and Paula asked me to stop by and make a request of the committee regarding her building at 347 River Street. The city recently received a complaint about a temporary fence in front of her building, specifically the horizontal brown deck boards. We heard about this when the city sent us a letter on September 27th demanding that the fence be removed in 7 days. On the 8th day, the city issued a citation. The 85th District Court agreed with our position that the fence is something this committee should weigh in on. The fence is necessary to protect our wooden panels from the elements, but it was not part of the certificate renewals in the past, really not discussed. In my opinion, this fence, it falls into a category of items that are necessary for a construction project, but are really not part of a final product and therefore, by extension, really not included in a certificate of appropriateness. To keep the building looking as it does, I ask that after I'm done speaking, you approve a statement that includes the following. The temporary fence in front of 347, 349 River Street was not inappropriate when installed and will remain so until the expiration of the next certificate of appropriateness. I get tongue-tied when I read that, so I actually brought handouts if I could. And I'd like to read it again and make sure that everybody understands what I'm asking for. So once again, the temporary fence in front of 347-349 River Street was not inappropriate when installed and will remain so until the expiration of the next certificate of appropriateness. By that point in time, we'll have a plan B sorted out to support removal of the boards. Frankly, right now, we're counting on those boards to protect our front through the winter. And we don't have a plan B that would be workable to deploy right now. So we need your help. Significant number of tourists stop by our place. We don't get complaints when people stop by, locals as well. We only get compliments. I appreciate your time and your attention. A motion would be much appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you. Will you stay there in case we have some
Sure.
questions later in the agenda?
I will be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. And the first item on the agenda is the calendar.
Yes, so in your packet, I have given you a calendar of proposed meeting dates, hoping that all of you can review that or had a chance to look at that. We want to keep it, again, still on Wednesday, still at 4 o'clock, but we'd like it to be was it the last weekend, or last week, I should say, of the month?
I think it's the 4th.
Or is it, yep, the 4th. Yep, 4th week of the month. So if those dates all look good, I need a motion to approve the new calendar starting in January of 2025.
Is there any discussion?
I would make a motion that we move our meeting dates until the 4th Wednesday of each month, except November and December, when they will be moved up a week for.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. And next item under new business are the email addresses.
Yes, so I've talked to the clerk, and we've been talking about anything gets FOIA'd or anything that gets a request. We really need to have everybody use their city email address. If you have any issues with getting into it, let me know, and I will have Ed, not you, but for the city, to review that and get you logged in. But then what you can do from there is you can set it up to, it goes right into your own Gmail account or anything like that. But Ed will happily help you with that. But we really need you to start to use that. Because the other thing is too, you might be missing out on emails, because like if somebody, for example, goes to send something to the entire HDC, all they have to do is type in HDC, and it brings all of your emails, the city emails. And so we would really like you to use that so you're not missing out on anything for personal emails.
So are you saying that you send it to our city email and it shows up in our?
Personal.
You can set it up that way.
Forward it.
But there's some of you that have personal emails that I just know, and I send you stuff. But maybe not everybody in the city, in the building, knows your personal email address. So that's what's hard. Yeah.
Contact.
Very simple, Thad. I mean, you just forward your messages to the city email address.
I don't even know that I have one. I might.
Or you have a city one, and you forward it to your personal.
Respond to it back. I think I keep forgetting to respond.
Reply
Back.
to all.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have one yet, so I'll have to.
And then it goes to both emails.
Okay.
That's what I.
So actually, if I could just, does anybody have one or don't know if they have one that needs to get into it? Because I can let Ed know. So Thad, I'll
Put me
check
a
with you.
question mark, 'cause I just
Sure.
don't know.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay.
And sometimes my emails from the city go to spam, so I check my spam at least once a week.
Right.
Right, there's so much to remember.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, well, thank you.
All right, next item under new business is parcel number, well, let's just call it 334, 336, and 338 River Street.
Yep.
Windows.
You can come on up. Thank you.
Whoever remembers, about 14 years ago, I bought that building and I did a lot of work on it. Did a total brownfield remediation, and it includes all new foundations under the building and complete new interior to the building. Parts of it are still somewhat undeveloped because I found out that to develop them, the cost would not outweigh the benefit based on what the taxes they are on the building. So I've left those sections pretty much abandoned in place, but at least they have a foundation and a floor under them, and but I didn't really build them out as the apartment that they were going to be, and the shop that I might have put on the Riverwalk, because anything that's accessible from the Riverwalk, I would only get 3 or 4 months a year out of it. And so it's kind of a problem. So I've left it like that. And we've been, and the building has been pretty much 10 years. There hasn't been any renovations really at all in 10 years, other than maybe painting and that kind of thing. So the opportunity for a facade grant came up. That's the only part of the building that hadn't been rebuilt. And I applied for it, and I was approved for it to replace the windows in the front of the building. So, issues are, when you have the south-facing windows on River Street are extremely hot in the summertime, and they generate a lot of heat in the building. And so I just felt it was time to put some glass on there that would be a little more energy efficient, and it was an investment I was prepared to make, especially with the facade grant being available. So that that helps me sustain the building and helps it be more energy efficient, more comfortable for the uses of it. It's been occupied by a really solid tenant for almost 4 years now. So I'm prepared to make the investment. I've received approval for the facade grant. Now I just need to make sure that the Historic District Commission won't have any objections to the material that I've recommended put in place. So it is the modern front, just the same as, pretty much the same as they put in the Glick building that's been renovated. Same material. And really that's about, I know Jeff's done a wonderful job with his. I wish I could afford to do that, but I can't. So you know, it is what people put in these days, and it's a quality finish. I'm prepared to put on. The only thing is the difference between having the color that I submitted and a custom color, not even one blended for me, but a custom color out of there is $24,000. So, well, $12,000 would be, no, take that back. No, it's actually $24,000. So, which I don't understand why it's that much. But what I'll commit to the committee is that if somebody objects to the color, well, then I'll paint it in the spring. I don't care, but I really want to get the building, you know, sealed up and more energy efficient and take care of that. Are there any questions?
You are the building owner?
I'm the building owner.
Okay. And what is the color of this?
Right now, it's a brown, dark brown.
Uh-huh.
And the color that I'm recommending is as close to that. There's the building. The picture's a little bit misleading because it's got high sun on it, so it's kind of washed the colors out a bit. But the garage door is a standard dark brown color that was approved. The paint that's used on the doors and the windows was, I took a chip of that color and had it mixed, and I've been painting that over the years. The color that is closest to it, they call it bronze, but it's a dark brown is what it is. And so I'm recommending that color. And if that's problematic, like I said, I'll use the same paint that I painted the rest of it with, and I'll paint over it. I don't care. But I'm more worried about the utility function of having the modern glass in it and having just having the front be more weatherproof and a little more comfortable for the tenants.
And how many windows are you proposing to?
Well, there's three storefronts in the facade there, so all of them. I mean, not the garage door little windows, not those, but all the picture windows and the what are they called? The upper windows.
Oh, the transoms?
Yeah, the
Okay,
transoms
okay.
in the 338 building. So it's going to have the exact same configuration.
All right, I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
So, right now, they're all wood windows?
The frames are all wood, yeah.
Frames are all wood, and we're going to replace those with aluminum.
Aluminum, yes.
One of the nice things about aluminum is it's paintable. So if you're not satisfied with the color once it arrives, you can repaint it. Much easier than vinyl. Thank you for not choosing vinyl. So that was my editorial comment of the day. And then I guess the question I have is just looking at this picture, the purple paintbrush portion has like a wider trim around it than the one that is like in the middle there. So which thickness of the metal piece is the visible part?
The visible part is probably, It's probably about 2 inches on the outside. I know, you might know, right?
Yeah, 2 inches.
So weirdly enough, I'm like more concerned about that than the aluminum, because the goal should be so that nobody just looking at the building notices that there's been a change. And if you're changing a real skinny thing to a wider one, or you're changing a wider one to a skinny one, that's what changes the look.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, if you could find out the purple paintbrush, just everything about that looks more appropriate to the building. The other two, you know, obviously have been changed, or one
No,
of
I don't think they have. They're all wood.
Okay, all right.
And I'll tell you what's been changed. If you look at the bricks over the lintels,
Oh, yeah.
that entire facade was changed because the city
Soldier course.
collapsed the building 20 years ago. And so the entire facade has got a mismatch of bricks on the upper level because they, you know.
They goofed up.
And that was all rebuilt before I bought the building, but I finally learned what happened, and, so it's not a perfect, in fact, even when we went for the brownfield, grant and all that, we put it to the state, and they actually considered it a non-contributing building. So it's not one of the precious gems in the town, for sure.
Although you keep it very.
But you know, it's a utilitarian building, that's what it's always been, and I don't know that I would change the feel of the building. I would keep, I think the only thing I don't know is the muntins in the transoms. I don't know how wide they are compared to, they're not 2 inches, but I don't know how wide they are, I just have to check. But it wouldn't change my mind, though, because it just has to be done. And so, I'm just hoping that,
Yeah.
except if it was okay to put that on the Glick building when they restored it, it would be okay to put it on this building.
So we look at each building by itself. So the other question I have is actually looking at the certificate of appropriateness application, and it's actually just about the lintels. It's not about the window, the application.
I should have,
Misreading something?
there should have been a product
The one on
on the,
30/20/24, the actual proposed project just talks about the facade, tuck pointing River Street facade below the lintels.
well, that's because we're not touching anything above the lintels, right?
Right, but I don't see the window.
I had the
Part of-
manufacturers.
Maybe there's a page missing or something.
Did we not
So
include
let's
the,
see.
The
product?
the quote is here, the description's here, I'm just not seeing the certificate of appropriateness information about the request for the
It
windows.
states that,
We have it.
what's it say? Facade damage.
Didn't bring it with.
Don't see window.
Oh, it's not written out in the description of the
They're-
project.
The brochures are there.
But right here,
Yeah, but it's not in the description of the proposed project.
The window
you're right, it
replacement.
says,
As I was reading through this, going, well, these windows are interesting, but I don't see it in the or the application.
What?
I have this up on the screen. Do you see this where I have on the screen? Describe
yeah.
the proposed project.
Tuck Point, River Street
Well,
facade below the lintels.
I guess
Yeah.
there was an elevation of each window of all the three windows submitted with the, by the vendor who's proposing it, with all the dimensions and stuff in it. This confirming the fact we're keeping the exact same shape of windows and the exact same configuration of windows. So,
Can we add the windows to the application?
Oh, absolutely.
Officially,
I mean,
so it's
they're not
officially
there.
listed?
Yep,
On the
actually-
description of the
Yep,
project?
absolutely.
We can add that.
Yep.
So I don't know that I have an opinion about whether they all should have the same depth of trim, or whether or not they should match what's there now. If you read the building as a whole, it would make sense that they match each other internally.
they're all going to be changed.
However, generally with historic preservation, we're trying to match what's there, but what's there is an original, so.
I have
And
not-
each one has its own address.
It reads as one building.
It reads as, yeah.
Yeah, so,
There's one property tax ID number, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I intend to keep the facade unified because it's got the upper level is all unified. It's got the same soldiers and everything else, so it does appear as one. It was, you know, the place was built as a car dealership. And the room where the 338 was, I guess, the sales room, closer's room, and the 336 was like the wash bay, kind of, and in the back was the, I guess, the storage and the showroom. The only building that was original is the one on the far right, the 334, where that used to be a tailor shop or something, but that didn't extend out to River Street either. So if you go in that shop and you look back, the back wall of that is the front wall of the original building. There's 5 buildings under that roof.
Yeah, I think the 2 inches is wide enough. It would look more like, again, the purple paintbrush window than the other ones, which are thinner, and I think that's probably okay. So those,
Is that a motion?
is there any other discussion?
Oh,
I don't really have, you know, any issue with the 2-inch across the entire facade. That's, would be appropriate.
I don't have an issue either.
So I would make a motion that we approve the modified certificate of appropriateness to include the window application for the proposed 2-inch trim windows in the document, and the tuck pointing. Yeah.
Support?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, maybe we should do a roll call vote?
Sure.
Let's do a roll call vote, Kessel, please.
Okay. Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Truck,
Yes.
Commissioner Kriskowitz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Quinn,
Yes.
and Chair Kenny.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
You can just, I think you need to follow up with the Community Development Office,
Yep, we'll change it on the application and we'll do all
and
of
they'll
that.
give you your certificate.
I mean, we're talking about the one I submitted, right? That, I'm just gonna approve that contract and I can go forward.
Well, we're gonna add in there the windows to the application with the 2-inch trim.
As submitted. Yeah, the ones I sent to your office, right?
Yep, they're right up there.
But,
Yep, you've got one of the,
but I was thinking, you know, I did send the elevations and everything, didn't I? I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
yep, yeah,
Yeah, it's just the language didn't get put into the description.
to the actual
So that's-
application part.
So that's
Yes.
the only part that,
Okay.
Yep, so
Okay,
that's all we have to add
just tie
to
those
it.
together and.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine, that's what I meant.
Great,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business, we have 347 River Street on the agenda. We just heard from Jeff Gordon, and I think that Teresa would like to give us an update on the project.
Yep, I just wanted to make sure that all of you had the application in front of you. I know one of the applications may be turned sideways for some of you, so I just wanted to make sure that you had the current application that he is proposing right now. This is the new application, so we'll discuss that one first, but you can go ahead, you can come on up.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The new application, the one that you just submitted, that's the one that you're here for certificate of appropriateness?
No, I didn't see that on the agenda.
Yep, that's what it's listed there, just under old business because of the same address.
Am I talking where Jerry Blue is supposed to be talking?
Nope, this is your line here where it says 347 River. So then in their packet, I've got your application in there for them.
My apologies, I did not realize that you even put me on the agenda.
So if I understand correctly, Jeff, you filled out a new application of appropriateness, and you're here representing Paula on this matter.
So if you
So this one right here, this is the one?
go down
Yep.
just a little bit more, if you
Sure,
could.
whoop.
There's a picture there. Keep on going, and if you could stop and roll right there, just a bit more down. If you could get the text. I don't know if you, do you guys see this screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah, they have
Yes, we don't
screens,
have to
and then
turn
they got this in their packet.
So I'm looking, if you were to look at the, I guess the far right-hand arrow, basically what we've got is some bed molding that runs around It goes around the top edge of the corbels across to the very back portion, basically makes its way around the entire front. We've got the molding in hand. We're looking to finish it out through the winter here and then install it in springtime. So if you could approve that piece of the puzzle, that would be wonderful. And then separately, if you've seen, roll down just a little bit, there's probably a better photo of what we did.
That's what it looked like
I'll
before.
come back to that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Keep on going, excellent job. One more maybe? I hope it's there. All right. Okay, stop right there. If you take a look there, you see the black columns on either side of the doorway? When we, the original front up above, you'll see it's a bunch of, it's basically tile, glass tile. We took that down, and there's literally nothing that was original associated with it. So we rebuilt all of these frames to match the originals. The big challenge was when my engineer saw the opening, saw the beams going across the top, said, nah, that ain't gonna cut it. You've got to put metal in this front. So what we did was, that's a pair of 3-inch Schedule 80 columns there. Not that you're probably interested, but below it are actually a total of 4 of those columns in this front. 2 on the far sides as well. We actually I built 4 chimneys underneath that, including the foundation, brought it up to street level, pinned it, poured concrete solid, and that's the footing for each of these columns. Also in the trivia, each will support 25,000 pounds. So yeah, it's well supported. The challenge here is how do we cover them? So if you roll back up to the first picture, I spent the better part of farting around with getting wood to fit exactly in between the space where the window frame that's kind of flush with the sidewalk, to basically angle it in and fit it in so it just looks like like a knife edge, just fits perfectly and runs up right behind where the columns end, or where the columns are. So that's the second part, is to install those, and with a little bit of luck, when it's all said and done, it'll actually fit properly. So those are the things that I'm looking to do at a minimum come next spring. So, with that in mind, I'd appreciate your approval relative to that.
Well, you haven't addressed the fencing.
I addressed the fencing earlier in my comments. I didn't, when I read the agenda, I thought it was Jerry speaks, not Jeff Gordon speaks. Apologies.
I thought on the application, you were proposing historically correct metal fencing.
That is, I did not include the details here because I did not realize that I was actually on the agenda. We can strike that. I don't have examples of those pictures. My intent here is that between now and, we've got 2 or 3 different options that we're looking at. I've got a range of pictures. We've taken pictures of all the fencing around town. We haven't settled on what makes sense, from that piece.
Would the fencing be permanent, the metal fencing?
That's still up for debate as well. Paul is saying probably not, and just have something that when it's necessary, it's latching in, is probably what we'll end up with.
Across the whole front of the building?
No, just where if you roll back up to the
Yep.
pictures here.
I have the pictures in front of me.
Oh, okay. The intent is just where we've got our lower, it's the paneled bulkhead to be the proper term. I'm trying to think of it, just the wooden panels at the bottom. When we first installed them, everything was great for a while. And then the city swapped over to spray and brine on the fronts of the building, on the sidewalk, but they were spraying on the fronts as well. After cleaning it off in the middle of February a couple of times, we decided to do something different.
So is this going to be a solid fence?
No, we're anticipating like a wrought iron fence of some kind.
And that's going to,
And then maybe
act?
like a little bit of plastic behind, like a plexiglass.
Would that be fastened to the building? Because it
Potentially.
can't be fastened to the sidewalk, because the sidewalk is city property, right?
My intention for today is to table that portion of this application for certificate of appropriateness. So I can come back to you with a very specific design. I don't have it figured out yet.
Okay.
Separate from that, I asked for a motion relative to the current fence. And ultimately, what I think I've alluded to in the comments, that the city has chosen to take us to court on pretty much short notice to have our protective fence that exists today removed. And we don't have an alternative to protect that front in mind. So our ask of you is that you would, through the motion, approve the language that I gave you. I don't think that the fence we have, since it's a temporary fence, should be considered or given a certificate of appropriateness. I mean, that's what you do for permanent things.
So
I'm hoping
Jeff-
with a double negative, I'll be able to at least get through the winter time with my fence, and then come springtime, install something else.
So you said temporary.
Yeah.
What's your decision or
When-
thoughts on temporary versus? I mean, we've been working on this building
Within
since
6 months, we'll have it finished.
How long has it been up there?
We installed it in January 2023.
So a temporary is becoming permanent.
That's the city's argument, correct. The biggest challenge is not so much the semantic, the conversation back and forth. The biggest challenge is, until September 27th, we had no idea there was any sort of a contention or concern about it. 8 calendar days later, we're already being taken to court. You can't, in that amount of time, you can't solve or come up with another alternative. So, in essence, this request is about gaining more time. If you'd like to tie that particular application for a certificate of appropriateness with a time frame that gives us enough opportunity to come back with your design and finalize what we actually want to do, and then enough time to install it, whatever it might be, that would be awesome.
I guess, why haven't, I mean, if it was in '23, you said?
January.
What's taking you so long to come up with a solution?
It's not even on the agenda. Basically, that is protecting the materials at the bottom from the top. We're still not finished with, finishing the last bit of trim going around it. Our intent was to figure out the bottom edge after everything above it was finished.
I'm having a hard time understanding how that fence protects what's above.
If and when I drop a tool, or if and when I drop a part, it protects it. When the snow plows go by later today, and they go by tomorrow, it protects it. That's what the purpose is behind it. It's dual. Until we get done with the very upper portion of our building, the intent was, we'll figure out what the fence alternative is. So if you say no to this, the reality is we'll probably be forced to remove it in the middle of winter. And I just don't think that's, your job is to help me protect the building. And at least as I see it.
Well, also your job is to work with us to come up with some solutions and,
And
I'm not hearing
I'm
anything.
asking that we strike that portion of the fence and because I don't have a design for it today. I don't have a final design. I actually didn't realize this was on the agenda.
Jeff, I would just like to say that you and Paula have done an incredible job with that storefront. And you can see, we have the pictures of what it looked like back in the 70s.
Yeah, let's roll down with it.
Yeah.
That's entertaining.
And I know that Paula, I believe she inherited that building from her family, is that correct?
Correct. She actually grew up in that building since her dad bought it in 1963.
Yes. In the pictures we're looking at right now, it doesn't even have the columns. It doesn't have the beauty that you and Paula have created. But I'm wondering if you would remove the barricades so we can all enjoy the craftsmanship that you guys have painstakingly put into that building. We have about 20,000 people coming into town this weekend who would probably love to admire the architecture there. And one of the reasons I ask you that is because none of the buildings on River Street have barricades to protect them. And somehow they all manage to
Well, it's called
look beautiful.
maintenance.
Well,
That's what it's called.
yeah. I don't,
Well, you know, from the perspective of removing them, it'd be very difficult to do so. Paula's not able to help, it'd be myself. You know, I think she called you and told you she, you know, had surgery on her foot.
Yeah.
But, you know, to get them back, I mean, the reality is the sleigh bell parades at night, you know, people are really gonna notice it, who knows, one way or the other. I understand your point, yeah, they're beautiful.
it's beautiful.
But getting it back in place, I think maybe the ask would be more appropriate for July 4th. How's that? You know, where it's actually sunlight and we don't have snow plows and everything else going on.
But that's the nature of the beast. Every downtown building, I own 2. I mean, should I put up a barricade?
If you do as much work as we have, yeah.
Well, you know
Well, he
what?
has,
You know what?
so.
Well, my point is that the front itself it's not finished. We haven't gone through, you know, the barricades are there. We haven't gone through and really done, you know, is everything sealed? In fact, I know the answer to that is no. It's not at the state where it's completed and ready to be, you know, exposed to the elements, and that's why we're here. You know, I don't particularly like the fence either, but it's effective. It doesn't look bad.
Do you get garbage between the fence and your front facade?
There was someone I looked this afternoon.
I'm sorry?
Garbage behind it?
It's pretty tight.
Saw some this afternoon because I inspected it before I came over. So let me get this straight. The certificate of appropriateness application that includes a fence is no longer on the table.
Just the
Because
fence,
he's
just the fence portion. You could
Just
remove.
wants to eliminate that sentence of the fence portion.
Okay,
And this is a new application.
which is
And-
basically an extension of an existing application.
Well, the existing is already expired.
Yeah.
So this is the new application, and in here, yep, replacement of current temporary fence protecting paneled bulkheads with historical design metal fence. Would you like that eliminated, that
It actually
sentence?
make more sense just to leave it in there. I mean, ultimately, because that's what our intent is within you know, that's what this says, is within the period of, you know, whatever this time frame is.
I'd be
Or replace it.
reluctant to leave it in and prove it. We have no idea what he's gonna put up.
Yeah.
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 And we don't know the definition of his temporary versus ours.
Exactly. Well, we've got a good
Well,
idea.
I have 3 grandchildren.
I'm not objecting.
This project was going on.
I'm sorry, I wasn't actually,
No.
that's the thing.
No, go ahead.
So, so we are looking at basically an application to continue the excellent work that's been done to this point. All right, so that's one piece of this.
Correct.
There's also been a request for us to opine about whether or not the temporary construction barricade is included in the certificate of appropriateness in past certificates.
Can I correct you?
Well,
But that,
that would be correct, and that's why I've asked Jerry Blue to come here and explain and talk about that a little bit.
okay, so then that's a second piece of it. And then the third piece is, yeah, would we approve an open Victorian style wood fence with plastic?
No.
No. So, but that's not on the table. So, the work is amazing. And you and I talked on the way up. I told you I've been working on a historic building for 25 years down in Madison, Indiana, and I'm sure the neighbors get mad at me once in a while because it's never been done. But the historic district doesn't require that you do work as long as everything's up to code. When you choose to do work, you file an application, you do your work. If you don't get it done, you come back and you file it again. We aren't timekeepers. We simply approve a certificate. Again, code enforcement, building things, stuff like that, that's beyond our purview. We don't do that with the historic district. We just basically say, yeah, it's good for the building, or no, it's not good for the building. And we'll approve it for a year. If you don't get it done, come back and we'll look at it again, you know. So from the standpoint of a new application without a fence, I would make a proposal to approve it.
I wouldn't have any problem with that as long as it excludes the fence.
Right. And that's my motion.
I'll support that.
Any more discussion?
Repeat that, please.
To approve the new application to complete the bed molding and installing the vertical trim between the columns. That's the certificate
Yeah,
without the fence,
okay.
okay? That was my motion.
Do you have any
Nothing about
questions?
barrier.
That'll be separate.
We're gonna talk about that separately.
Gotcha.
That's not in the
Separate
certificate of
issue,
appropriate.
yeah.
Okay, good.
Do you have any questions, Lee?
Nope.
Nope.
Kelso, will you please take a roll call vote? Did we have a second, a support?
I did.
You did, yes, okay. Please take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Trucks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kriskowitz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Quinn,
Yes,
and Chair Kenny.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay.
Can I make a clarifying comment if I could, with regard to the second piece?
Sure.
So when it came to, I used the language here specifically because I don't believe that anything that's temporary, think scaffold or material or that's not intended and part of the permanent building should be receiving a certificate of appropriateness. So the language I've got here, and maybe it's awkward, but what I'm looking for is something to say that, hey, it wasn't inappropriate. It's not inappropriate, meaning it's appropriate to put a temporary fence up for a period of time. And I'm asking that you approve that and will remain so up until the expiration of the next certificate of this certificate of appropriateness. And that would give me time to find my solution, come back to you, you guys approve whatever that solution may be, and then get it installed. And then therefore not expose my storefront, my apologies, to the elements for the balance of this winter.
I still struggle with, in my mind, 2 years is not temporary. And so you've made it permanent. And so I think we have, it's within our purview to decide on that, whether it's appropriate or not.
And I
I-
think that Jerry would like to speak before we.
And just one comment, if I
Discussions.
just counter you, the reality is I understand your point, but this wasn't an issue until September 27th. It's, if there's a problem with, what's wrong with June 27th, and then I've got time to actually solve it. So, with that, thank you.
Okay. Please stay in case we have some more questions, Jeff.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Jerry?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm here today because the judge disciplined me in the city for going out of bounds. And I'll confess that I did. Lack of knowledge of the ordinance. But let me tell you why I did what I did and how I perceived it happening. I received a complaint through the city manager's office about the material, the vinyl fencing and the boxes in front of 347 River Street. As I started investigating this complaint, I looked at the current certificate of appropriateness, which was expired at the time. It had expired in June. I tried to find previous certificates. There are plenty of them all over the place in our system. It took a long time to cipher through all that stuff. I did not find anywhere in there that allowed for the work that was done. In my mind, this committee approves work to be done on a building through the certificate of appropriateness, through the ordinance, that is put in place by the city council. I perceive my job is to enforce the code, whether it's a building code or a blight code or a historic district certificate. So I was instructed by my higher boss to address this issue. I sent a letter to Paula and Jeff. You received the letter. That letter was on September 27th, asking them formally to remove the temporary barricades from the front of your building. We feel that it's not temporary anymore. It's gone on for a couple of years. And we would ask them to remove it, or we're going to have to take corrective action. So I got a response from Paula on October 4th. My storefront requires continued protection from the elements on River Street, including the sandblasting effect and leaf blowing in the summer and snow removal activities in the winter. I respectfully disagree. The city's feelings in this matter. At that point, I was instructed to issue a citation. We went to court. At court, the judge informed us that you folks make this decision, and if they refuse to abide by your decision, then we issue the citation, and then he can rule on it. So, that being said, obviously there was several certificates. This project has lingered on for a long time. I do respect your opinion on how long it lasts. Probably you maintain these buildings forever. But eventually you gotta be done. And then you start over, right? This project is, I think that the notion of protecting something that's already done, because the bottom of that building looks like it's done to me, doesn't make sense to the city, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the fence being there, and people are complaining to the management here that it doesn't look appropriate and it wasn't on the application. So the judge wants a decision from you. I'm going to take that decision back to him when we have a new hearing, and we will go from there. That's really where we're at.
Does anybody have any questions for Jerry right now?
No?
Are you including, there's pieces that are bolted in front of the bulwark, okay, of the store windows.
Mhm.
And then there are some sort of plywood box contraption that has pieces of wood jutting up to the doors.
Mhm.
To begin with, are you talking about all of it?
All of it, yeah.
All right.
So the complaint was the vinyl boards across the storefront and the two red boxes, and actually the one was tore apart at the time that the complaint came in. It was just a plywood and 2x4 frame on one side and then the red Christmas box decoration. That's the contention, that's the source of the violation. Again, we can argue if it's temporary, permanent, but in my world, once you attach something directly to a building, it's permanent. And these apparatuses, fences, barricades, whatever you want to call them, in my view, are permanent, and they're not part of the application. So the ordinance is very vague in how these get enforced, in my opinion. I issued it as work without a permit. Well, this work was done without being on the permit, in my mind. Judge sees it a little different way. Mr. Gordon sees it a little different way. This is your job to decide, I guess. The building's beautiful. This takes away from it, in my professional view.
So we need to decide whether the barricades are appropriate.
Being that it's fastened, does that create an issue? Because now it's part of the structure.
I think it just solidifies in my mind that it's not temporary.
Right.
And plus, coupled with it being there 2 years or more,
Yeah.
I think we have a strong,
You know, this is
Position.
something that we have never dealt with, and we don't have any request for a certificate of appropriateness to deal with any of these kinds of barricades. We've never approved them. We've never commented on them. I don't know that we should do any more than state that to the court.
and, you know,
If,
But it's
I mean, there's a lot of issues here. I mean, if there's something installed that won't stand up to the elements, well, that's a problem for the owner, certainly. But I'm not sure that, just my humble opinion, you know, putting up a barricade like that is a solution to that problem.
Ed, I know you and probably all of us, whenever there's a construction project going wrong, sometimes there's construction fencing that's put up. I mean, that's a pretty standard thing.
Right.
They're 8-foot, panels, they might be tall, you stick them in front of the site, it protects the public from any danger while the project is going on. That's a standard. So
Correct.
I wouldn't expect to ever see that in one of our certificates of appropriateness. I would have to go back and actually read our ordinance to see what it says about temporary construction fencing, which is, everyone, you have to do it if you're doing a construction project sometimes. So that's one thing, but these vinyl panels that have been adhered with bolts, because that was one of my things I was worried about, they're attached to the building, they're in the wood trim work, been so carefully, restored. And they're gonna come out, and there's gonna be these big holes, and they are attached to the building right now. So, I guess the question is, we don't usually make a decision about what kind of construction fencing is going up during the life of a project. The assumption would be that when the project is done, the construction goes away. Or when it's no longer, and Jerry, this might be how you can maybe think about it, when you put up construction fencing when you don't want the public to get injured, right? That's why it's done, right?
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of part of a building permit. You have to
Yep.
say you're putting up construction fencing. So if it's a project where there's not a public danger, I don't know that it should be there.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's part of the structure. Second of all, it's vinyl, which isn't one of our approved materials. Third, it looks horrible.
and it's
Yeah,
been there 2
I
years.
understand Lee's point, but Jesus.
Well, I think we need to make a decision. It'll get kicked back, if I'm reading the commission right, it'll get kicked back to the judge, and he'll render a decision, and then we'll know.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable in saying that we have oversight on something like this, because it is attached to the building, and it is, in my mind, permanent.
I agree with this.
Did anybody read through all of those certificates of appropriateness through the years? Because we did get a copy. Thank you, Teresa, for sending us that whole play-by-play. Where at one point, this commission strongly urged the client not to use the varnish look, but to go with the paint because it would have better protection. It was early on in one of those minutes. It was something I noticed last night. Because the doing the varnish sets up some issues that aren't necessarily there when you're using a paint. Paint oftentimes provides a better protection against the elements. And I'm wondering, and I'm not saying that we have to change anything now, but it might be interesting as the property owners thinking about alternatives, that maybe they'd consider that instead of yet another barrier. Because I don't think we're ever gonna approve a barrier in front of that beautiful bulwark that's been
Right.
restored.
That was '09.
It was on,
'09, they said to paint it, not stain it.
Well, and
They
Ed,
recommended it.
yeah, they require it, they recommend it.
Strongly encouraged,
Yeah.
that's what they said.
and Ed brought up a good point much earlier in the discussion about if he's got salt up in there or debris, it's a maintenance issue
Yeah,
that everybody faces along River Street and other areas of the community.
everywhere. every time.
May I say something?
Yes.
Something, looking through all of this and reviewing it, my concern that I had was, I know it's not occupied, but him and his wife are in that building. What if there was a fire? You cannot get out of that entrance. The barricades.
What does the court want us to do?
Either approve or disapprove of the barricades. Are they they want a motion from this commission as to whether or not the barricades are appropriate or inappropriate?
I'll make the
for
motion
historic district.
that the barricades are not appropriate and should be removed.
Question? Was that what what the court actually asked, or did they simply want us to say whether or not it was included in the certificate of appropriateness?
The judge wants a decision from this committee whether the construction
Okay.
and material is appropriate.
It's answered.
Well,
Okay.
and again, I can
I
add
was
to it
wrong.
that it doesn't, the barrier doesn't appear on any certificate of appropriateness.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there support?
Can you, I've even lost my train of thought. Can you read that back?
So you made a motion to not approve the barricades. They are not appropriate and they should be removed.
Because they're fastened and.
Yeah, because they're fastened, they've been in place for over 2 years. The owner's stated intent was to alleviate what I consider a maintenance issue, and then finally it was never added as part of a certificate of appropriateness.
Support? No? More discussion?
More discussion. So the boxes in front of the doors are separate structures from the vinyl barrier planks in front of the bulwark. It would seem to me, if you would accept this friendly amendment, that the boxes in front of the doors be removed, are not appropriate, and that for now, we would ask the client to come up with a more permanent solution to the bulwark by, and let's say, I don't know, April 1st, May 31st, something like that,
Well, I
because,
viewed that as as part of the barricade, all that, everything there is part of the barricade in my mind.
so just all of it down now.
The
Yes.
vinyl, the wood, the lattice.
And you supported this already?
I would support that.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Council, will you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Trucks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kriskowitz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Quinn,
Yes.
and Chair Kenny.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jeff, I know this is tough for you and Paula, but I ask that you please work with us. Again, I look at some of the things that the commission has approved on River Street or in the Historic District Commission district, and what you're doing to these buildings is far superior than anything that I've seen being done. And we want to work with you on that. So I guess we're going to remove the barricades so we can celebrate that fabulous work that's being done.
If I could, I did ask for a motion on my, I gave you a motion, I asked that be potentially raised. Would you consider that?
The opposite of your motion just passed unanimously, so it doesn't make any sense.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to the agenda under public comment.
You had permit?
Yep, I've got the,
Oh, we have a permit report. Sorry, I didn't see it through all my little notes.
oh, that's okay. So we have the permit report, certificate of appropriateness. Before the meeting, I talked to Chair Kenny, and I'm going to go ahead and get that Excel spreadsheet that she shared with me before. I'm going to get that updated. I do apologize, we've had an upgrade with BSNA. It's been a little struggle for myself and council to try to get through that and get the reports printed right. So I know going forward that that's what Chair Kenny would like. I'll have that, and we'll include that every month. So then we know what's closed, pending, expired, in the works, all of that.
And just for the historic district?
Yep,
It
that's
doesn't
it.
for all of your permits?
Yep,
That'd be great.
absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any public comment?
Hello, Andrew Stafford, Director of Economic Development and the Director of the Downtown Development Authority. I just wanted to give you a heads up. We finished our facade grant round, and obviously we had Jim here asking for a certificate of appropriateness with that facade grant. So there are 2 other applicants who you can expect to submit for certificates of appropriateness. So I just ask you to continue to work with all our property owners, because DDA loves being able to support the beautification efforts of our downtown, especially if we can make those fall in line with your guys' standards and what SHPO kind of asks us to do. So just continue to ask for your kind of help with that. If there's anything that you need from the Downtown Development Authority, we do always point them to you, and that's kind of a prerequisite for us to actually grant those funds, is that they need the certificate of appropriateness. So I've been pointing everybody to Teresa and making sure that everybody's getting their certificates of appropriateness, and I'm going to continue to do that with all the projects I see downtown. But thank you for all the hard work you guys do for our downtown.
Thank you for the facade grant program, because that's what helps our historic district stay a historic district.
Yep, thank you.
Which is the goal.
Yes. Any other public comment? Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence today?
None at this time.
And how about the museum executive director report?
Nope, no comment. And the only thing that I wanted to add was we do have in September of next year, 2025, that's when Mark Fetter and myself will be doing the report for city council. So he's aware of that, and we'll be doing that.
Thank you for doing that.
And
Teresa, the community development office, you have some things to go over with us?
Yep, just actually just one thing. I just wanted to let you know that last night at the city council meeting, the historic commission, we do have 2 vacancies, as you can see. We did have one appointment last night that the council approved for Scott Lorraine at 71 Oak Street. He will be joining us in January. We will get him sworn in, and then he will be attending that meeting. Council was already kind enough to give him a call today, welcome him on board. We'll get a packet and a booklet together for him. We've got his email, his phone number. We'll get him a city email that he'll be using, and we're excited for that. We do have possibly another person in the works if they get their application in time, and we'll have a full staff, full commission.
Great.
Yes.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, the pressure is.
At this time, is there any member discussion?
No.
Well, I hope to see everybody at the Slayville weekend, in way, shape, or form. I'll be working Festival of Trees, so stop by.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, do we have an motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
You beat Thad.
Support.
I'm sleeping.
I beat that.
All in favor? Aye.
He's quick at that.
I don't know how to
Did you use it at the beginning?